Hello, it's Sarah Jane from Cards and a Cuppa, and I'm here with this tutorial for you today for this, what I've called a PopStand card, because it's a pop-up card, as you can see, but it also stands up on its own, so it makes a great fun card. But the best thing is it folds up so it's flat for posting. Granted, it'll probably be a bit thick, so it might be a large letter in England, but it also fits in a standard 15cm envelope, and I've also got imperial measurements as well for you. I think it works really well with the balloons, as you can see here, but I think you could probably use it for quite a lot of different stamp sets. A few that came to mind that I thought might look good with it were Birthday Fiesta. Now that llama, how cool would he look on a little grassy bank? Some dinosaur cards with no bones about it, or even Weather Together, some umbrella cards. Yeah, but lots of ideas. Pretty much this will work with any stamp set you've got, whether you've got dies or not. You just hand cut, that wouldn't be a problem. But you can see here that the sparkly glimmer looks lovely with the die cut balloon. So I'm not going to kid you, because it's quite a long-winded card this, and it's not going to be a quick make for you. It's probably going to take you 45 minutes. So that you're not sat here watching me fiddle about for 45 minutes, I've pre-done some of the elements for you so that it's a bit quicker and it's not quite so boring. So let me get started and show you how to make this card. So the first thing you're going to notice is that I've got some pre-stamped, heat embossed, coloured and then die cut elements that are from the Nailed It stamp set, and the dies. But these, all I did was stamp them using Versamark and heat embossed with copper embossing powder before watercolouring with an aqua painter and ink pads. Now that was Night of Navy and Smoky Slate. So they're going to be my pop-up elements, and then I've got guide greetings just for the sentiment, one of the sentiments from there. So you're going to need 2 sheets of A4 card, or 8.5 by 11, or you could use 1 sheet of 12 by 12, it would work with that too. So to start with, you're going to trim one piece of card to 14.8 by 17.8. Put my cutting blade to the bottom, out of the way, and then score at 14.8. Okay. And in inches, that's going to be 6 inches wide by 7 inches, score at 6 inches. All these measurements will be on my blog, so don't worry too much. I'll put a link to the direct post underneath this video. So your second piece of card needs to be 14.8 centimetres wide, which is 6 inches, by 21.8, and then you score, move your blade to the bottom, and then score at 18.5 centimetres, 15.8 centimetres, 14.8 centimetres, and 13.8 centimetres, which in inches is cut at 6 inches, flip it round, cut at 9 inches, and then score at 7.5, 6.5, 6 and 5.5 inches. So now, out of one of these 14.8 centimetre wide pieces, you need to cut a 1.5 centimetre strip also. On the larger of the 2 pieces, across this centre score line, which is the 13, 14 and 15.8, you're going to measure. So you're going to measure at 1.5 centimetres, 3 centimetres, 4.5 centimetres, 10.3 centimetres, 11.8 centimetres, and 13.3 centimetres. Now you can do that again like that, or you can flip it round and measure it, which is probably the better way, because then it doesn't, you're not drawing a pencil line past your score line. So you're measuring this on your 13.8 and 15.8 centimetre score lines, which is also the 5.5 and 6.5 inches. So if you've measured correctly, it should match up top and bottom. So 1.5, 3, 4.5, 10.3, 11.8 and 13.3. Now in inches, the measurements are 5/8 of an inch, 1 1/4 inches, 1 7/8 of an inch, 4 1/8 of an inch, 4 3/4, and 5 3/8. So again, all these will be written on my blog for those that like written measurements, so don't panic about writing everything down. Now you're going to need a craft knife and a craft mat. Now I don't seem to be able to find my small craft mat, so I have to get the great big one out, the bigger one of them, which is just bent because I've left it sat sideways. Okay, now what you're going to do is cut between the two marks that you've made vertically, and the way I found that worked best was to cut all along from one side, because it's such a small area to cut, and you don't really want to go over, if you can help it, the edges. So what I did was cut one way first, and then flip the card round and repeat it again, which would just take you up to the top score line, and cut all the way to the top. I'm trying not to get my head under the Now these haven't got to be perfect, it's just roughly, but this way it gives you three areas to attach your front panel to without it collapsing. Okay, so now we're going to score. So a bone folder helps with this, and you're going to score forward, see where I did it. And then backwards, and then forwards again, and backwards. Now in between the three pieces, you're just going to pop these back to make the pop-up work on the front of your card. So you should end up with that look, which from the side is what your pop-up is. Now just fold this piece under here. Oh, I've got to get the cutting mat back. On the smaller piece, we're going to measure in at 5 centimetres and 10 centimetres, and up 5 centimetres. This will be our stand, and you need to cut along this diagonal edge and this scored line here. That in inches is 2 inches first mark, 4 inches, and then up 2 inches. That is your inch measurement. So grab your cutting mat back, and trim out the bottom and across the diagonal. Okay, and then rub out your pencil marks. Probably best not to draw them in really, I just thought it might be easier for the video for you to see them. Okay, so that's your stand at the rear. In the interest of time saving, I've pre-cut my paper. This is from Serene Scenery Designer Series paper stack, and I've got some cloud paper, I think you would call it, and that is 14.8 across by 13.8 centimeters down, which is 6 inches by 5.5 inches. So it's okay if your paper's not directional, but you know, just to make sure that you get that, if it is like this one is, you need to make sure that the length is 13.8. And then this piece is a bit of the parquet effect, and I've stamped and heat embossed some of the hardware from the stamp set, and trimmed along the parquet pre-drawn images, and that is 14.8 or 6 inches across, and I trimmed it to about 5.5 centimeters and then cut it down a bit so it wasn't too high. And you're going to stick that onto your strip of card, the 1.5 by 14.8 or ½ inch or so by 14.8, just for some rigidity, just to give it a bit more structure. And now we get the fun bit, which is the suspended tools. I'm just going to cut a 1 centimeter wide strip of window sheet, and what you've got to remember is when it folds up, that is there, moves up, so you've got to just make sure when you attach it that you don't attach it so that it goes over the top edge. So I'm going to sort of position what I want where. Crystal effects to attach these tools to the acetate, but if you've run out of crystal effects, you can also use glossy accents, which is widely available. They dry on their acetate, I think what I'm going to do is the stamping now. Oh, be careful that you don't stick it to the paper underneath. You could probably use your silicone mat if you've got one. The card goes together something like this, so this edge here will be showing, and so will this edge, so you need to stamp your sentiment and images onto there. So as the recipient receives the card like so, I think it's quite a good idea. I might stamp happy birthday on this section, and then to a classic from Guy Greetings on the inside section, so it reads as it opens. So let's use early espresso. go back to these tools now, and I'm just resting that on that fold so that I know where to position. I'm just going to trim that that's overhanging at the back of that tool. Okay, don't try and pick it up while it's still really wet. That's that lesson. But what you don't want to do is stick it to the paper underneath either. So move that like that, and then just let that dry. Separately. I think a better way to do that would be to lay it on the paper so that it's the right height and glue it from the back actually, but you know, you learn as you go along. So this is only the second time I've made this card, so that's a little tip for you. Now all we're going to do is glue this to the back. And that will give it the strength that it needs to support. And then I'm only going to glue along this edge here. To go in underneath. And then this whole flap at the bottom here, this will cover the bottom. So once you've glued that over, then it's simply a case of adding a little bit of Tombow to the front of each of these pop-up tabs and gluing your tools to them. Once you give that a few minutes to dry. So once you've given that a few minutes to dry, you can just double check that your bottom folds up and it doesn't go over the top. That's a little overhang, but that will be fine. That will fit in an envelope, and you can see that it fits in a regular 15cm envelope. No problem. And that's your card posting, ready for posting. Hope you've enjoyed today's video tutorial. I loved making this PopStand card, and I hope you have a go at making one yourself. If you do, don't forget to share with me on Facebook or Instagram or on my blog, and I'll pop back again soon for some more videos. Thanks for watching today.